guys, welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Engine Boy. Tonight we're looking at why you shouldn't buy engines sight unseen. I will insert a picture here of the only picture I saw of this engine. As you will see in the listing title, they have it as a 20 plus horsepower Kohler, which is obviously wrong. On Facebook Marketplace, a couple hours away from me. Had a relative over in that area and made a deal with the guy over messages, and a family member picked it up for me. So you'll see the picture. Not much can be seen of it. It was told it was not stuck. It was a little stuck when the family member went and picked it up, but I've been messing with it a little briefly here, and I did get it to free up. It's been sitting outside for a little while. There is some water in one of the cylinders. The spark plugs are loose. So I think that was what the hang-up was. My original intent for buying this engine was for the propane setup. I have a THDG engine that someone has converted to a carburetor, and I've been looking for a good donor propane regulator setup to make that engine more complete. Kind of why I wanted to buy this one. From a parts engine standpoint, I will probably not end up getting this one running. This will be a parts donor engine. I gave considerably more than my average range of parts engine buying. By the time I paid the family member the fuel and what I paid for the engine originally is more than what I'm comfortable with normally. But here we are. You live and you learn. You don't buy engine sight unseen. Now, there is some good parts off of this engine I will use for other projects. Wasn't a total bust, but as you can see, we have a low pro manifold, exits out the back. These are always nice to have. I personally love these manifolds. You mostly find them on the Yazoo mower TJDs. I think they're a neat piece to have. I have a couple of them in my parts stash. Obviously we can see the regulator. This, from what I can tell, is complete. It is not broken anywhere that I have found. So this will come off and go on the other motor eventually. We can see here, we have the flywheel with the hub for the front pulley here. This was a special option. Two fins have been broken, but they're broken evenly. So I'm not too terribly concerned. That will make a nice flywheel and pulley for a future project. Another interesting thing on this motor, we have a shielded ignition magneto. I am not sure why this would be on there. I don't want to consider this a military motor. There is no serial tag, obviously. A lot of people like to remove those tags, and I have yet to figure out why. But I am not totally convinced this was a military motor. I've seen LP setups like this for street sweepers or indoor use sweepers or concrete refinishers. I don't know if this was added by someone later on. Obviously they have normal leads in it instead of the shielded leads. Could have been something someone had laying around cheap, or they found it cheap, made it work. But the interesting thing, you look down here, we have a tapped port into the oil pan. Now, on some military motors, I've seen this where they have an oil filter. Just on the military twins, they had an external oil filter. Now, I don't know if along the lines of the life of this engine, if that's what it was, we don't know. Another interesting part that is a really nice thing to have for a project engine is this remote throttle setup on the back valve cover here. This is for a lot of garden tractors use them. You could put your cable through this hole here and it would grab the arm. So you would not need the typical throttle linkage found on the Wisconsins. This would more of a remote application, which makes sense For this motor, you have this exhaust going down. This could have been in a very confined unit. Hence why there's no controls on the front of the motor. All of that would have been remotely operated. Thankfully, that arm has not been broke. Seems to be in good shape. So, pretty good parts there. As we take a look at the other side of the motor here, obviously we can see there's no tag. That has been long since removed. By the paint, I'm guessing it was removed along the lines. I don't know if this is original paint. There's gray underneath. I'm going to go with someone painted it. But what's nice, the starter, this isn't your typical electric start setup. This is a heavy duty starter mount for the twins, where most of them weren't. They were just a kind of a plate welded on the shroud here to support the starter, where this one, we have an adapter bracket and an overly large plate here. Not typical, but this will be a nice addition to the part stash for future projects. Obviously the solenoid is destroyed, but you can still find those. To touch more on the starter subject, in a previous video I posted my Lindsay compressor here with a THD, and it is also electric start, but as we can see, there is no big heavy spacer plate. There is just this thinner metal that has been welded to the shroud to reinforce it, as opposed to that parts motor. It is a more heavier duty setup, more robust, where this is your run-of-the-mill Wisconsin electric start for the twins. So yeah, I'll wrap this short little video up here. Am I disappointed? No, it's turned out a little better than I thought. Kind of what I expected going into buying a sight unseen motor. There are some good parts that will be used off of it. Looks like it has definitely sat outside for a while. This, whatever is bolted to, is very rotted. But it will help make more hard to find engines complete. Like I said, I have a THDG that I will put this propane setup on to make it a complete factory engine. I have not confirmed if this is a THD or a TJD. I'm guessing by the shape of the tag mount that those are definitely a Wisconsin tag and a Teledyne tag. When you see propane TJDs, they typically are from the Teledyne era. I would guess that this is a THDG as well. But between the couple parts that we have talked about, I am not sure if this was something someone put together or a very odd unit. Now, the downfall of not having the serial tag is we don't have the spec number, and I cannot look that spec number up on my microfiche sheets. Those sheets tell you what special parts would have been ordered, like this manifold, this propane setup, this flywheel, all would have been listed parts on them sheets because those are not your standard Wisconsin run-of-the-mill parts. Those would have been a special order. So, but there's a lot of salvageable parts off of this engine. The shrouds seem to be in good shape, not rotted out. This rear one back here usually is rotted out from mice getting in there, and they build a nest, and that their feces will rot that pretty quickly. Where this seems to be a pretty solid one. So this engine should come in handy, but you live and you learn. You just buy engines in person. Yeah.